Hey, welcome back to the Permission Statement. I am your host, Johnny X-Ray. I'm going to keep it short and sweet today as best as I can. I mean, you can watch the other videos that led up to this, and it's getting closer and closer to pressing out to that edge of Pandora's box where this is a reality. I'm in a dissolution of marriage, which should be an annulment. Um, no, thanks to the ruling of Commissioner Robert Stamps, which I'm not saying that just out of bitterness. I mean, I went into that having done an exceptional amount of research, speaking to qualified experts, attorneys that dealt with that matter, seasoned attorneys. Um, and they all said the same thing. So I was really taken aback by the fact that he approved their annulment when it was pretty obvious that they knew. And so the clock started. And so, yeah, I definitely call into question Commissioner Robert Stamp's decision. And if I'm proven wrong, I mean, or if I'm wrong, I mean, then cool. Thumbs up. I'll be like, hey, I'll be the first one to say it. But um, if somebody knows otherwise, does the clock start ticking? Once you know there's bigamy, the clock starts ticking. You're supposed to do something. And there was two opportunities that were both exceeded, at least in that. So I'm still tethered to this chaotic mess. I had went to child welfare services, and they told me to go this path through, divorce court and everything. And the other person has just been given all kinds of latitude, and I guess we'll dip further into that. But any and all of that is kind of secondary to how we got here to begin with. And there's some things that people would say, oh no, you got to look past it, and you got, it's marriage, and marriage is hard. But when you're talking about life and death, and you're talking about murder and kidnapping and all that stuff, that shit, there's no flexibility. There's no wiggle room there. There's no justifying placing somebody else in harm's way. So I've mentioned before in the other videos and done my best to explain it. Once I get to a certain level on the platform, then I can go live and dip into it or answer questions. I still have a lot of interviews to do with relevant people. But bottom line, I've had friends who dated women or fell in love with them and tried to take over parental roles. And those women had chosen like a gangbanger or a knucklehead, and they lost their life as a result because the man came later and tried to take away his child from the girlfriend or the female who, my friend was in that role, and they stabbed him to death on the front lawn. So that's a life lesson right there. If you let it be, and it should be. These videos and these stories that I'm telling y'all are life lessons, but do you incorporate those into your decision making process, which is what I've done and what I'm doing. And so the first woman that I married, our marriage kind of got scorched, but her father was kidnapped, tortured, and murdered he's kidnapped from his home in San Carlos, California, and he was tortured, murdered, and thrown on the freeway. As a result of his moonlighting, he was a Cuban restaurant owner in San Diego, and he was moonlighting on the side with some dangerous people. That specific incident, as well as other kidnappings and murder, led to me conflicting with a very select group of people that wield power on both sides of the border, but most of their power, where their power is like extreme, would be in the frontera. And my spouse kept trying to lure me down there, and she knows that we know some of the same people. We both know that her friends are connected to the people who are responsible for these homicides. And so it's like, she's all over social media, her friends are all over social media, and she kept trying to draw me down into places that I shouldn't have. Nope, I got no business being in, because I have conflict with these people. Because as a peacekeeper, it took a while, but men of action will only stand by for so long. And that decision to go and start putting in work. The last day I saw my brother alive before he deployed to Afghanistan, he drove from Fort Carson, Colorado to Corona. Then he came down and he and I put in work. And one of those photographs on the thumbnails was taken by my brother on that day because he loved me that much. And so those decisions and that action to go utilize what the Army taught me to do and to go hold people accountable, overwatching the objective and all kinds of other stuff. But yeah, that makes it so that it makes no sense for me to go certain places, especially with somebody that's tethered to the very same people that, you know, would wish to dispatch me. I mean, it's like a no-brainer. So I should have never been expected to do that, and I should have never had to I should have never been expected to let anybody take my son anywhere near people like that, or that are still involved in all that stupid shit, just to accommodate this person who's supposed to be a social worker for child welfare services. But like I said, on the whole one side, it's these women that fuck these gang members and marry like murderers and all this other stuff. And so they're like drawn and attracted to these people, and they just expect everybody else to think that that's okay, that they would put these men forward as role models for their sons, and that there wouldn't be any consequence. And that's a selfish action. They're about their needs and their wants, and they disregard what that can do to their sons. And I'm relentless. I'm here to protect my son, and I will. And that means scorching the earth for new growth if need be, meaning my marriage. It's like, hell yeah, I love my wife, I love my family, but I love my son above all else. And his future means everything to me. And unfortunately, it sucked because I was being held hostage by this individual that it's like, oh, well, it is not my way, no matter how chaotic and self-destructive her way had to be, and these people drop out gang members that are out trying to be something they never were when they're not supposed to be, like her brother doing stupid shit on a phone that was connected to our account with our phones, and yet there she was, knowing that her brother was doing dumb shit out there, probably screwing around with the very same people. And yeah, she just wasn't getting it, and she knew. And then she surrounds herself by these people that, like these women, just like to fuck gang members. That's their thing, and they try to justify that through empowerment. That's a bunch of horse shit. Because I know so many women that are empowered. I drive for them. They would never would they sit there and go marry a fucking murderer doing life in prison, or some active gang member and try to, like, you know, get cheat. All this stupid shit that I've seen, and everything. It's ridiculous. And instead of protecting our son and our family, she did what she was doing. Had a little life insurance, an extra life insurance policy on the side, was caught engaging in activity with gangsters that she used to have sex with. So it couldn't have been more obvious what her intentions were, when she was trying to lure me down into a circumstance where I would be within striking distance of the very people that would dispatch me. And if we see each other, somebody's going to die. That's what it is, unfortunately. So you got to keep that in mind. But this individual kept trying to draw me down into fucking Tijuana and the Frontera and Rosarito, where these people are at. I mean, like, they're literally at. And I was thinking, man, and that's stressful. And they would try to chalk it up to like, oh, you have PTSD. And it's like, so this fucking turd, who's a social worker for Napa County, the reality of who she is coming to the surface, and she makes that out to be an attack because she can't stand the fact that, oh, now people see something other than what she puts out there, because she's very strategic at, like, manicuring everything from photographs to the whole thing. You know, profiles, even the whole profile will change from the alcoholic party going girl with these sorry ass friends that she got here in Napa that helped her go back into being an alcoholic, because she was doing good for a long time. You know, I believed in her. But as soon as we moved here to Napa, she started hanging out with these women who don't have a home, don't have husbands, can't get a husband, can't get a man to marry him unless you're doing life for murder. Then yeah, there we go. But all of them try to shield themselves under the banner of empowerment if you call any of that into question, which is crazy. Because shout out to the real women that are empowered. If they looked at the circumstances, they'd be like, I wouldn't abandon my kid for some heroin and meth addict, drug dealer. Are you out of your mind? Or marry a dude doing life in prison. But these people now have titles and positions, and they're part of that movement, but they're fraud, because the actions that they put, their actions or decisions are anything but empowerment. I would say the exact opposite of that, but nobody really knows that shit. And they're all going to get pissed off because it's like, I'm pulling the covers back because they wanted to secretly try to go behind and try to use PTSD and that's what they do. They'll try to move things around to make it look as if they'll call in that shitbag Michelle who ripped us off and come in and be like, oh no, I'm such and such from Napa Empowering Women's Services, because they're like, oh, this person will be believed. But pull back all their covers. And then, of course, those people are tethered to knuckleheads and gang members that like to do this and like to do that. So it's just becoming more and more of a chaotic mess. But I'm an infantryman, and I made my decisions, and I'll remain steadfast when it comes to my son's future and his protection. So her brother, the shitbag dropout SNY yard that's out there trying to front like he's a fucking narco, but got in trouble for whatever and then hit the yard and rolled it up off the yard. So he should be minding his fucking business and going about life, instead out there trying to front. Like, all these people, like, there's something wrong with them, man. Like, they really are. Something's wrong. It has to be, because they all, each and every one of them has the potential to achieve so much greatness. They have skills, they have wonderful attributes within their personality, but there's this huge elephant in the room, like marrying gang members and murderers and other stupid shit like that. It's obstacles that they place in front of themselves that inhibits this forward mobility that they surely could achieve. And I kept saying, hey, we could do this together. Come on, si se puede, whatever the fuck. But it always boiled down to, oh, you're trying to judge us and all this, like, you know, self-defeat is bullshit. But when it comes to my son, I'm not having that shit, man. I'm not just gonna stand idle. So they're angry. Get it how you live. Do what you got to do. But I'm here, and I'll be here for as long as it takes. And do what you got to do. I mean, what else can I do? What else can I say? They're connected to murderers. I don't like murderers. I deployed to go stop murderers. So ain't no fucking way I'm going to be kicking it with them. And projecting to my son that somehow they're the victims when they're not. So ride with me, because it's about to get thicker and thicker. It's time to go full throttle. And that's like with everything and everybody in this process that's tried to sit there and play the fuck around game. And all the excuses, it's bananas, from her attorney, Gregory Winter, to like Legal Aid and everybody. Because there's no way that this was just some unintended side effect of the judicial process. Ain't no way. This was intentional. And it's like everybody keeps giving her far too much latitude when it comes to the future and the safety of my son. I don't know what I was thinking. I said, oh, thank you for protecting my son, but they didn't. I did. And what I had to do, no parent should have to do. And when the rest of the people in America understand what that means, everybody will understand why I'm so driven. And I can't close Pandora's box, so I got to make all these chaotic decisions. but I think it's time. So ride with me.